Hiya, welcome back to Shamanic Heart Space. My name is Nancy. I'm so glad that you're here. If you've been with me through the Leo solar eclipse, whether sitting in ceremony or listening to the episodes, or simply feeling the intensity of what's moved through the collective field throughout August, then you already know that something is shifting and something has been planted and something is really coming alive. So, let's get into it. I'm here to channel and discuss the Pisces full moon lunar eclipse that's coming on 27th, 28th of August 2026. This is a Sturgeon Moon. And it's bringing lots of emotions, lots of water energy, and it's arriving just after the most significant solar eclipse of this year. And it's time to get into those waters and figure out what's been going on and what is going on. So please take what resonates and leave what doesn't. As I said, I channel for the collective, so some things will resonate and some things won't. You can always go back and listen again because different things will land at different times. So, what's going to be happening is almost the entire face of Grandmother Moon passing through the shadow of Mother Earth. This lunar eclipse has almost total coverage for this Sturgeon Moon. So the Earth's shadow is falling across the face of the Moon, which has no light on its own, only the sun's light reflected back to us. So there'll be partial darkness once again, and may even go a deep blood red as the atmosphere bends and the light paints the moon with the sunrise and sunset happening simultaneously around the world. And this one is sitting in the energy of Pisces, the sign of deep water, dreaming, the dreaming mind, the collective soul, the veil between worlds. And it is the counterpart to the Leo solar eclipse that we're still moving through, really. Go back and listen to that episode, although I think I did 2 episodes for that one. But Leo is fire, is sovereignty, the heart that leads, the sun, the light that shines and blazes outwards and says, here I am, this is me. And this Pisces energy is more to do with water and disillusion, the moon, and the light that is received rather than generated, and reflected rather than radiated, and is somehow quieter, deeper. So these 2 eclipses through August, of course, are in conversation, are in relationship with one another. A dialogue between the fire and water, between assertion of the new self and the surrender of the old self that's going to take root. It's kind of between the yes and also the surrender, moving away from one thing and into something new. So this isn't really about endings, though you may hear that from many sources, but I want to offer you my own channeling and download and understanding. And it's really this, is that what goes into the water doesn't disappear, but it transforms. The water is not destroying what it receives. There's a dissolution, yes, there's a changing of form, but the essential nature, the prayer, the seed, the knowing, that doesn't go. It's going to travel. It's going to travel through the darkness and find its way to whatever it's moving towards in you and take root. And, you know, it's no coincidence that the sturgeon knows this ancient armoured fish that has been going to the riverbed and coming back for probably around 200 million years. It really knows what works and what endures. It knows what settles at the bottom of the river and what rises again. So all of this to say that this eclipse energy is supporting us and asking us to trust what we know in our own waters, in our own being. Yeah. So, we also have the sun in Virgo while the moon is moving through Pisces. And Virgo's kind of been running the show for a lot of us this year, and it's not always been easy, that's for sure. This is Virgo season, and you know, Virgo in its highest form is the healer, the one who serves with discernment, with care, with precision, that comes from genuine love, unconditional love. The herbalist who knows which plants, which methods for each person. The ability to hold a strong line, hold a space with compassion, and also pushing you to get the best out of you. Can be demanding in that way, making you demanding of yourself, you know. But then in the shadow, that Virgo energy is perfectionism, restlessness, inability to trust, over-analysing, planning, controlling, optimization, service more from a fear of failure rather than just a love of being in service. And maybe the propensity to try to manage the peace rather than surrender to it, maybe going against the flow. So perhaps you recognize some of yourself in that. That really seems to be the axis or the pendulum swing in the collective right now, swinging between those things, and yeah, very deep unconscious patternings coming out in those ways. So, you know, this eclipse could be asking, where has effort become a substitute for trust? Where are you working just very, very hard? What is it you're overdoing in your work, in your relationships, in your creativity, maybe in your healing, your spiritual practices? And maybe it's time to think about what is actually required is to put it all down and just allow the river to carry you. And this doesn't mean doing nothing. It's more of an invitation into receptivity, not passivity. And perhaps honing your willingness to listen as deeply as you act, surrendering to presence and trust, to sink into rest as deliberately as you do into striving or pushing for goals and outcomes and endings, and allowing that inner knowing, the dream self, the intuitive self that has perhaps been quietly whispering underneath all of that doing. Yeah, maybe it's time for that. Yeah, intuitive part of you, surrendered part of you, really the bigger part of you, to take up the space now. So when it comes to all of that, what does it know? What does your intuition know? What is it telling you in the quiet moments? When you can't sleep, or when the panic starts to set in, or between one thought and the next, one action and the next. So this eclipse energy, I see, is deliberately asking each of us to sit with that without even trying to find an answer or some kind of efficiency. It's just being in perhaps what we can call a liminal space. And what's coming to me now is a very old story or notion about Virgo and Pisces together. And it's around that the purpose of mastering the ordinary is not to escape it, but to remember the sacredness of ordinariness. So no longer trying to transcend the daily and get away from the physical life, but to bring the divine into it, bringing heaven onto earth is how I've always described it. To find the presence and the beauty in the most commonplace of moments, in the washing up, in the conversations, in the cup of tea, walking to the bus stop, whatever it is. So this eclipse is really not asking you to push yourself any harder, but to take a look at what we can call ordinary life and remember how incredible this miracle is. There's a lot of talk about the Matrix and XYZ, but how beautiful and perfect this Matrix is. Come out and look in nature to see the patterns, to see the beauty. How complex and how different we all are. How we have everything inside of us already, as above, so below. And I'm not denying for a moment there are horrendous atrocities taking place. And that doesn't mean that we can't do anything about them. But maybe, just maybe, we are powerful enough by tapping into ourselves and being present in our energies and remembering the divinity in all of us, the oneness, the connection, the compassion. That's what's going to make the difference. That's what is making the difference. So remember that what you might call ordinary life, that's the ceremony. Whatever that you do with your thoughts, your energies, your hands, your prayers, your words, sending the emails, doing the school run, cooking, gardening, cleaning. Remember, everything is touched by something greater than you can really imagine. And that's a graceful life. That's a ceremonial life. Not as a concept, but as a practice. As the actual texture of a weekday. Many of you who've been with me for a while, you know I have a long history with plant medicines and wonderful things. But I have always maintained that these things are here to help us. They're tools for sure. But they're tools for us to remember and reawaken to ourselves and our innate healing powers, our compassion, our abilities to see and communicate beyond the five senses. I love plant medicines. I love working with the spirit world. Of course I do. I don't know any different. I was just born this way. But also, perhaps it's time to stop looking outward and really, really go in yourself. Go in yourself. Perhaps you don't need these tools as much as you think you do. So, once again, have you been managing instead of surrendering? Have you been making decisions and plans instead of surrendering? Have you been pushing things in the wrong, well, there is no wrong, but have you been pushing things uphill rather than surrendering? And where are you masking and pretending and avoiding really coming home to yourself and loving yourself and accepting yourself? So these are big questions. And I'm very aware of how I'm feeling and how I'm sounding as I record this. And it does feel very grounded and it feels very peaceful. And so that tells me it's likely to be the same sort of energy for you. An acceptance of, yeah, that this is me. I can't uphold this facade anymore. Didn't even know it was a facade, but gosh, it's taken so much energy. And then the exhale. Yeah. So then there's the dreaming part of us, the dreaming mind, the third eye, the first eye as I like to call it. That part of you that knows things before the conscious mind can catch up and question and so this Pisces lunar eclipse, that dreaming, the information you receive is likely to come through more quietly than your waking thoughts. Perhaps even more patient than what you experienced through Leo, which I think was quite push on through. I can't really remember, it feels so long ago already. But just notice what comes to the surface for you in your in-between moments and when you're dreaming. This is all a dream anyway. So what are you creating with this dream? You're the architect. And do pay attention to your dreams around this eclipse. Dreams in the Piscean field often carry messages from ancestors, from guides, from the parts of yourself that don't tend to speak in words, but more through images and feelings. And yeah, actual sleepy time. And it's not even about interpreting analytically. It's just about what you're feeling, what you're sensing. And maybe just keeping a journal with you or by your bed and just writing, not to understand, but at some point you go back to it and something just clicks, you know? So yeah, there's a really strong message of just stop trying to understand the incomprehensible. You know, the quality of time and physical reality has definitely changed. I'm sure you're sensing this, and this can be described as the veil between worlds being thinner. But it's all just really coming together, you know. There are moments throughout every year, throughout every season, where things just blend into each other, and our ancestors perhaps more accessible in different ways, and guidance may become clearer, easier to comprehend. And this eclipse is really feeling like one of those moments. So, I mean, I'm sure you've heard anyway that across the traditions, ancestors came very close at eclipse times. Also a time for community, for gratitude, for renewal. Some communities would find it frightening for sure, but that's because it really meant change and new opportunities opening, maybe spirits returning to give messages. So you can ask yourself, is your lineage trying to give you something? Has any of their wisdom been interrupted by history, by trauma, by cutting threads that should have been held and the weaving continued? So this is a beautiful moment when those threads can be rewoven, and what you thought was lost may be remembered. I'm also noticing that something's happening. We as humans are clearly expanding, and I feel like we're reconnecting and remembering our relationship, our connection with other species. You've probably heard some of the stories about the sea and the marine animals, or, you know, the dolphins, the whales, the creatures held in captivity being released into sanctuaries, people demanding elephants and horses being freed too. More talk about the mer people. I'm very connected with that race. But feeling what matters, reconnecting with that sense of oneness. So not just about people, but whole life, ahoma takuyasin. So maybe you've been feeling some of that tenderness yourself for the natural world, for the animals, for the two-leggeds, the four-leggeds, the creepy crawlies, the winged, the finned of planet beings, star nations, the plant people, the tree people, the forests, that spiritual sense, activating, feeling all of that. It's something I've had to come to terms with throughout my life. I used to find it very difficult as a child, really knowing I could feel it all, but not being able to understand what that was. So maybe you're feeling that too now, and you think it doesn't make sense. Of course it makes sense, because we're all part of one weaving. And even the imagery of Pisces, actually, the two fish swimming in opposite directions, kind of tied together at their tails with a cord, holds that oneness beautifully. One fish swimming towards heaven, and one swimming towards the earth, one towards maybe what is more what we can call spiritual, one towards what we can call embodied. And that cord holding them is not a constraint. It's keeping them as one. So this eclipse is asking for us to hold both that deep knowing and the ordinary human experience, the grief and the gratitude, the laughing and the crying at the same time, the dissolution and the trust that something is being born as everything is dissolving. And on that takes us into, with that dissolution idea, you might be taken into some grief, not as a problem. It's a very natural part. It's the thing that has to move, because it will stagnate if it's blocked and keep us stuck. Can be a hum of flatness or inexplicable tiredness or untouchable sadness, the aliveness being gone. And when we're letting go of the old, there may well be a grief process that needs to take place. This eclipse certainly activates cleaning grief. Things that have been lodged somewhere unnamed in amongst people I've been working with. There's this sudden kind of permission to let it flow. So it can feel like a release that comes from nowhere. Maybe tears, unexpected tears. Maybe feeling tender. Maybe recognition of how much you've been carrying. Or, yeah, just that final cleaning, really. So you're invited to just let it flow. You don't need to trace its source. You don't need to attach a label or a story. You don't need to make it make sense. And a lot of what you may be feeling may not even have anything to do with you. You may just be clearing some stuff out for somebody else in your family, in your community, in your field, because we're all in the field, we're all sharing it, So just let the water move, let the river carry what needs to go. That brings me to beautiful Bobinsana. This is a plant medicine I've worked with for many, many years, and she's definitely found her way to the West now. I brought her back here many years ago because she told me she wanted to help to heal the hearts of the Westerners. She is a heart and grief medicine from the Amazon. And I know I've worked with many people with this plant as part of a dieta, where you allow this plant to guide you into your own healing. And this is one of the most potent allies for this eclipse. working directly in the places in the body where things are stuck, particularly in the heart, particularly in the waters, going deep into the places where feeling and emotion have been held, and she tends them gently and persistently, the way water tends stone on the earth, not forcing, not breaking, just moving, always gently moving. And she's a medicine, definitely, for this Pisces eclipse. So I think I'm going to leave that there. I will be saying more in my full moon ceremony, which is online on Tuesday, the 25th of August at 7 p.m. on Zoom. And this will be before the eclipse peak, to help to prepare you for it. I will be sharing more about plant and allies. I feel so dreamy right now, having been in this Pisces energy to channel this. Yeah, I'll be sharing more about allies that are available, more about the eclipse energies, how you can use it to the energy that's available to really help you to move through whatever it is that you need to move through. We'll be sisters together online. There'll be a sharing circle, oracle cards, and a guided shamanic journey to help you to get into alignment and just make sure nothing's stopping you anymore. I do that every new and full moon, and if that's something you want to commit to more regularly, you can join my Patreon. But if you want to just dip your toe in the water, that link will also be available in the show notes. It's always wonderful to gather with everybody and have this time together every new and full moon, knowing that we are experiencing all this together, when even though we are on our own journeys, individual journeys. So if you want to move through this threshold in sacred space and with a guided journey in the dreaming waters, come and join us. I mentioned Bob and Sana before, these handmade tinctures that I create. You can also find links to that in the show notes. Got some other things coming up, actually. I'll tell you about that just before I give you a practice. Make sure you're on my Substack, links also in the bio, because that's where I put everything about what I'm doing and where I'm doing it. I do hold ceremonies, I do one-to-one work, I offer Cambo in London. I can travel to you as well. I do travel for work quite often. I'm here in service. I'm also a therapist, so kind of bridge these worlds. This is the perfect moment for me, because really my vision is bringing heaven on earth, remembering that heaven is here on earth, and it's just about how we navigate it all, whether it's heavenly or not. The 10th of September, holding a new moon event with my beautiful friend Amy. She will be doing a sound journey while I hold the space with Cacao and Bob and Sana. You can find the links to that in the show notes. Got an equinox retreat coming up, which is really deep, powerful work. If you want to know more about that, again, message me, get in touch, check out the show notes. And I just hope you have a really, really beautiful time through this eclipse, getting everything that you need out of it. So I'm going to give you a quick little practice now for this moon. So this is a way of feeling into the Pisces field and letting the body do what the mind might be resisting, and that is to receive. So just when you want to do this practice, find somewhere that you can be still for maybe 10-20 minutes. If you can have some water nearby, that would be lush. If you can be outside, even better, by natural running water, but I know that's not possible for everybody. But just having some water nearby, this can be a glass, it can be a bowl, it can be the sound of the rain, however you can connect with the water. You're going to close your eyes, you're going to feel your feet, whether on the floor or tucked beneath you, feeling the weight of your body, the warmth of it, the simple fact of being in a wonderful body, even if it doesn't work how you want it to, or look how you want it to, or all of that stuff. Just remember it's incredible, and you're here in this body. Slow breaths in, so slow breaths out, until you start to feel your entire system relaxing. And just imagine yourself at the edge of a river, wide, slow and deep, enormous and quiet. And you can feel the soft bank beneath your feet. The light has a particular quality of late summer, warm, without harshness, golden, maybe even a little heavy, with the moon reflecting on the river's surface, full and round and dimmed, and the eclipse softening her face, the earth's shadow moving across, slow and enormous and unhurried as time dissolves. As you stand in amongst all of this, just notice what you're carrying, not to analyse, but just to feel. And in particular, the last few weeks, what did that Leo eclipse show you? And what have you been holding, tending, hoping, worrying, or building since then? And whatever's there, let it be there. Don't push it away, and don't hang on to it either. And as you tune back into that river energy, its pull, its depth, its patience, and it's not asking you to let go of what you're carrying. The river is simply offering to carry it with you for a while, to take some of that weight and let the current be part of that movement. And if you feel like you want to, you can offer something to the water, a word, a feeling, grief, fear, a question, a prayer, anything at all, giving it to the river to carry. It knows where things need to go. And it's been carrying things since time began. And if the river has any messages for you, just allowing yourself to receive that. And then whenever you're ready, long, slow breaths in and breathing out with sound. Let that exhale be audible. Like water releasing from somewhere where it's been held. And then whenever you're ready, you're going to bring your attention back. Feeling your feet again, feeling your body, feeling the room around you, and opening your eyes. Alright, so before I go, I'm going to give you some journal questions to sit with in the days around this eclipse. So, you don't need to have answers, but just see what they bring up for you. These might just be thought experiments, or you may well want to journal. So the first question that's coming through is, where has effort become a substitute for trust? Is there anywhere that you're working hard when what's required is to rest and to listen and to receive. Number 2, is there anything that your dreaming mind knows that your waking mind has been refusing? So anything that's arrived maybe in sleep or in quiet time or in between moments you haven't been listening to. Trois. What grief is ready to move? Not be solved or fixed, but just allowed to flow. 4. Was anything seeded in the Leo eclipse? Quietly, unconsciously. Are you still feeling it? Where is it in the body? Is it in desire? Is it in direction? Is it feeling possibilities? Is there anything that needs to root? Cinco. Number 5. 2 fish swimming in opposite directions, tied by a cord. Is there any way you're swimming against yourself? All right. Anything else that wants to come through now? Yeah, there is actually. So something is happening besides these eclipses. And it's also really good news. What I'm seeing here is an alignment between slow-moving planets of expansion and of structure. Something we haven't seen or felt or experienced for a long time. And the quality of this alignment really is like support and stability as we become more comfortable in being who we really are. So I sense that what's been going on quietly and slowly even in our underground, the seeds that grow and germinate underground before there's a visible sign of life, now the support is there for those to be held. So what you've been building, germinating, is coming through. Yeah. And everything that you've grieved, everything you've passed through, every prayer you've uttered, every tear you've shed, every moment of surrender, every crossing that you've made is all worthwhile. Everything you've put into yourself has helped to transform you out of the collective illusion. And we're swimming back into that collective sea, but the truth, the sea of truth now. And you've never been separate from that movement. So this eclipse will do what it has come to do. And there's nothing really you need to understand or do. Just be yourself and be willing to swim in your own waters. And trust, what's true and what's real. You'll know the difference now. So I hope that's been helpful. Thank you for staying with me to the end. I really appreciate it that having you listen means there's somewhere for me to put these visions, and I do hope that it is useful in some way. It'd be amazing if you wanted to share this episode with somebody that you thought would benefit from it. And I very much hope to see you face to face soon, whether it's at a moon ceremony or Cambo or any kind of one-to-one. That would just be beautiful. I'm sending you so much love from my heart to yours, so much gratitude for your life, and as always, I dedicate this to you for the highest good of all. Ahom Takuyasen for all our relations. Thank you for listening. This is Shamanic Heart Space, and my name is Nancy. See you next time.